What is up guys, Andy Forest Team Runner here, and today I'm talking to you guys all about the Hoka One One RINCON on the speed test and the long run test. So we'll start off today with the long run. I'm out here with Matt again. Thankfully though, we're not racing him today. Those days are done. So today we're just seeing how the Rincons do. I'm kind of tapering down from the training block that I've been doing to freshen up for either a race or an effort, something to cap off the training block. So the long run today is not going to be quite as long as normal, but we're going to get a good feel for these shoes and how they perform over the distance. So I'm going to crack on with the long run, and I'll touch base with you at the end when we're done, and then we'll move to the speed test. So there we go, that's the long run wrapped up. We got just over 10 miles done and dusted, and now today is the turn of the speed test. We're down at Lydney Lake to do another taper style workout. I say another because I didn't really explain the long run was going to be a little bit shorter than it normally is, just because at training at the moment we're just kind of in a bit of a taper phase to do something, whether it's a race or a time trial. So today we're just doing 4 by 3 minutes on with 90 seconds jog recovery, getting some speed into the Rincons, and we'll see how they get on. So there we go, speed workout in the Rincon 2 done. Thanks to Matt for dragging me around today, and Kelly's over there filming as well. Both the links to their channel will be in the description below. Solid workout this morning, good stuff. Another big box ticked by the Rincon 2s, and we'll go back and talk about how they performed. So there we go, 10.4-ish miles done for the long run, 6.4-ish miles done for the speed test. That takes us up to 38 miles now in the Rincon 2. So today, as always, we're going to be taking you through my long run thoughts, my speed test thoughts, and then giving you guys a final conclusion at the end as to how I have found this shoe. For a lot of you eagle-eye viewers, you might notice the mileage on this testing is slightly lower than normal. I like to sometimes take my long runs at least 16, 18, 20 miles. At the moment, we're kind of tapering for something. Now the race has been cancelled. I'm not 100% sure what yet, but I will let you know as soon as I know. So the mileage has been slightly less in the shoe, but nonetheless, we've put it through its paces, and I'm delighted to share my thoughts with you today. So we'll start with the long run. So I kind of feel where the Rincon comes into its own in the long run, it's just the comfort levels of the shoe. This cushioning in and around the heel counter and ankle collar area is such a lovely cushioned padded area, but weirdly enough they managed to make it super light as well, and that I believe is because we've got the cushioning around the top, but again back towards the bottom here there's barely any cushioning whatsoever, but around the top it's relatively thick and it's lovely. It cradles my foot nicely, and it just, there's something about the Rincon that just works really well for my foot, albeit it's very slightly narrower than I'm used to. My toes, they're not scrunched, they're not, you know, curling over at the end, but the toe box is snug. Having said that, it did bring the magic back to me. When I was running with the Rincon 1, I absolutely love that shoe, and one of my things was, am I going to love this shoe as much as I did with the Rincon 1, considering I've tested so many other shoes, shoes with plates, shoes with carbon plates, nylon plates, loads of other different types of shoes. Would the magic still be there, or was this great last year but maybe not so great this year? I'll share some more thoughts on that at the end, but overall I've got to say it was absolutely magic, and I love this shoe. It just, the miles tick by with Matt. It's always better to have company, but when I got to the end, my feet felt absolutely great. We all know the durability in the midsole is poor in the Rincon, but I have to say that whilst it is as good as it is at the moment, it is right up there with some of the best midsoles. I absolutely love the EVA foam that they put in this thing. It's just that beautiful combination of softness, but firm and a bit poppy. With the Meta Rocker design, you just glide through your stride. That's what I find with Hokas, especially my Carbon X as well. Going from the Rincon to the Carbon X back last year is just such a smooth transition. You run so smooth in this shoe, and as I said, no different on this long run. It was absolutely fantastic. The speed test. Now this is where things got interesting. For me last year, the Rincon One was the shoe that I went for my 5K PB, for my half marathon PB. I didn't really have a plated shoe at the time, and it was just the lightest shoe I had in my arsenal to go out there and run some of those quick times that, if I'm honest with you, last year smashed some PBs in, and I was really, really happy with the shoe. But actually going back to this shoe now for speedier work, I do notice the difference having run in plated shoes such as the Pro, the Endorphin Pro, the Next Percent, the New Balance Fuel Cell TC, and then of course things like the Saucony Endorphin Speed as well, with a nylon plate, a little bit softer, but you still notice that there's a plate in there. It really does get you realizing when you switch back to a shoe like this just how much a plate does impact your running. You do feel like you get that extra propulsion, and when you slip back into a shoe like this, despite it having the Meta Rocker design here, how much extra work you have to put in to the shoe to get those same paces out. So we ended up going out there. I was running around 5:25 to 5:30 average per mile average pace in those 3-minute reps today. And I have to be honest with you, I have run similar times in other shoes with less effort. So I was putting in, especially by the 3rd and 4th rep, I was putting in quite a bit of effort to maintain pace in this shoe. And I'll be honest with you, it was a very minor positive split, the workout. We did get slower, and so I think we finished on a 5:32 pace and we started at a 5:25. I think I went 5:25, 29, 29 and 32. So I did kind of positive split. It's very, very negligible times, but I did notice the fact that I had to put the work in. Now, does that detract from the shoe? No, it doesn't. It's just a point that I wanted to shout about, really, because for a lot of you know, all these shoes I've been testing, it's interesting to, as I said, slip back into a shoe where there's not all this technology, and it really is just upper, midsole, minimal outsole, job done. I love the simplicity of these types of shoes. It really does just take you back to what running shoes used to be like pre all of this technology. But overall, again, as the Rincon One did, light, poppy, snappy, feels good when running fast. For me, it does anyway. I know a lot of you guys that do like the shoe like to use it from an easy perspective, but I have to be honest with you, I love picking up the pace in this shoe. It feels natural, as I said, with this Meta Rocker. I just glide through my stride in this thing, and I really, really enjoyed it. So on to my final impressions. Final conclusion, do I love the Rincon 2 as much as I love the Rincon 1, and how have I found it over testing? Yes, I absolutely love this shoe. Yes, for me, it's brought the magic right back of the Rincon One, and I'm absolutely delighted. I'm so glad I ended up bringing this thing back into my arsenal of running shoes. Obviously, it's one of those shoes where you think limited durability, is it worth the money? But I've got to be honest with you, with the time I'm going to be running in this shoe, I'm going to love every second. I've loved every second. I've not had a bad run in it yet. I've enjoyed every single run. I think just the area I need to highlight with this shoe, not only it's got a narrow toe box, I said that in the first impressions, but the highlighted area that I must share. If you're like me, you got the Rincon One last year, you were blown away by it. You've then tried a load of other shoes this year and you've come back to the Rincon 2. I have to be honest with you, you do notice actually, or in my opinion, I've noticed that I think last year I put this thing up on a pedestal because it was at the time best in field, but with so many other shoes this year that have come out to aid you with speed, like those longer distance New Balance Fuel Cell TCs, the Saucony Endorphin Speeds as a training partner shoe, and dare I say even the Nike Air Zoom Tempo Next Percent, which for me won't fall into this category, but I know for some of you guys you like it. If you run in those type of shoes and love them, and then you go back to this, you do find you notice a difference. You do have to kind of switch your brain off a little bit and go and not compare them, or not compare this to those shoes, but you kind of have to compare it to the shoes that are in its category, which is more like the Hyperion Tempo, more like the Atreyu base model that they have out there. Those lighter, speedier shoes, and slot it into
that area. And when you do that and you take your mind out of trying to compare it with plated shoes, as I said, I absolutely love it. It's absolutely magic and I cannot fault this shoe. I will be taking this thing, I've got to be honest with you, I think I'm going to do my best to take this thing until the midsole collapses again. For me, it happened in Rincon 1 around 180 miles and then I pushed it a little bit too much to the point where I was getting ankle and shin pain. So I won't do that, but as soon as I feel the midsole go flat on this one, I will retire it. But I'm going to do my best to take it to that point. Of course, when I get there, if I get there, I will let you guys know the mileage I got to and basically how I use this thing. But of course, up next, hopefully before that, we'll get to 100 miles first, and I'll be sharing my thoughts on how I used this shoe throughout its life cycle thus far. So that's it for today, guys. Those are my thoughts on the Rincon 2. Testing complete. Let's now plow the miles in, get this thing up to 100 miles and see where we go from there. Let me know in the comments below if you've got the Rincon 2. I know a lot of you split decision on the first impressions video. Some of you loved it, some of you hated it, but for those of you who love it, let me know in the comments below how you were using it, what your preference is. Do you like it for speed, long runs, or both? Is it a jack of all trades shoe? And for those of you who don't like it, what's a lightweight speed shoe you've been using this year that you absolutely love? Let me know in the comments below and let's get that discussion going. So that's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I will see you on the next one. Until then.